burning the candle at both ends? Do you feel that you're just drowning because you just lack balance in your life, your work, your dissertation? I can personally understand how this goes and how you might feel because I too went through this. And as a doc student, there are so many things that are competing with you, and it might be frustrating at times on how to make sense of it all and to figure out how to establish some balance. Because of that, on this episode of From ABD to PhD show, we're going to talk about how to create work, life, and dissertation balance. I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode of From ABD to PhD show. My name is Dr. Ramon Goings. I'm your host and founder of Done Dissertation, where our goal is to demystify the dissertation process so that doctoral students can write and defend a dissertation in 1 year or less. Today's episode of From ABD to PhD show is sponsored by the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program. Our coaching program has the goal to help you write and defend your dissertation in record time. And if you're someone that wants a community, you want that support to get you to the finish line, we invite you to learn more about our program by going to www.velocitydissertation.com or by scanning the QR code that is here on your screen. Now, for today's episode, we're going to talk about all things around how to create work, life, and dissertation balance. First things first, before we get into today's episode, I have to tell you that I struggled with this when I was a student. And this is something I'm still managing to this day because I have a lot of things going on at once in terms of faculty, done dissertation, a lot of stuff that family, all these things are happening all at once. And so I know what it's like when you're in that boat trying to figure out how to make sense of it all. And let me just tell you, when I was a doctoral student, this is what I had on my plate. I don't know why, but this is how I kind of thrived in this type of setup. Is that I was teaching full time. So I would teach about 7 to 3. I was giving music lessons, private music lessons. My background's in music education. At one point, I used to be a music teacher. Then I transitioned to being a special ed teacher. But I kept 2 students, and I actually kept 1 student until he was ready to finish high school. I said, I'll stay with him. I had him from 4th grade. I got him to 12th grade. And so I stuck with that student. I had a private music studio client still. I was adjuncting at my master's university, teaching some adjuncting some undergraduate courses. I also was coaching the men's varsity basketball team 1 year as an assistant, another year as a head coach. And I still was a newlywed at the time, starting my doc program and trying to just enjoy life as well. So I had a lot of things going on. But because of that, it got to a point where especially I got closer to writing my dissertation, all that stuff, the doc program started to become overwhelming in terms of what I had capacity to do. And so because of that, I just didn't manage it well at first. And this is what happened. One day I'm going to my teaching job and I had to get up pretty early, like 6:15 or something like that, to go to work. And I get up and I leave out the house and I left the refrigerator door open. I left the phone off the hook back when we had house phones or whatever, house phone off the hook, and the door to our house open, like slightly cracked. And Renee was like, "What are you doing?" Like, it's my wife. Y'all meet her. If you just decided to work in our program, you'll meet Renee and have a chance to talk to her about the program. And Renee was like, "What? What are you doing? Ramon, get it together." And because of that, I had to figure out and do something different. And so I had to figure out and find and create some work-life dissertation balance, or otherwise I was going to succumb to what I described in my book, 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, called dissertation intoxication, when you become so consumed with the dissertation that it takes away from everything else that's happening in life. So I share this story first before I get into the content, because I want you all to understand that I'm no different. I understand what it's like going through this. And so I want to give you all some strategies that have not only worked for myself, but that we also see work for our velocity coaching clients. And so first things first, what I want you to do, and you can do this right from after this episode, or you can listen to it while you're doing this. I want you to create a schedule. I want you to be mindful of, like, what are you spending your time on, and create this schedule. And what could be extremely helpful for you, and Renee has implemented this really well. And I'm trying to, do this also with my calendar, is like not only scheduling things, but like being mindful of how much time are certain activities and tasks taking you. So what I want you to start doing is not only creating your schedule, but you're going to color code your schedule by type of task. Because what's going to allow you to do is that when you look at your calendar over the course of a week, you can start to see, all right, let's say red was your writing time and blue was work and green was family. You're like, oh, this week I have a lot of red stuff, or maybe I have not a lot of red this week for writing, but I got a lot of work time in, but I don't have a lot of family. So like you start to figure out and create some ideas around the balance, because you have to create a schedule, or otherwise that you will kind of move and shake, like kind of with the wind, just wavering around. And then if an opportunity comes and someone wants you to do something and you're like, oh, I'm not doing anything right now, then you go do it, not knowing that, oh, if I had my schedule together, I knew, all right, 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's my writing time. So I don't want to do anything during that time. So it's just being mindful of putting these things on your calendar so that you can start getting into the habit of, blocking your time and being mindful of what you're spending your time on. In addition to the schedule, I want you all to add in this piece. I know it's probably not there right now. A lot of us miss it. And we talk about this with our velocity clients, is I want you to incorporate what are some incentives in your calendar, or even it might be self-care type of opportunities and things. Like for me, I have to get my massage. Like, I go shout out to my masseuse. Like I have to go get one once a month. Like that's my thing. I've always done that. I love it. So, right. That's the thing that worked well for me in terms of an incentive. You have to figure out what's your incentive and schedule it in, because we all need self-care. Writing the dissertation takes up so much space in our minds that we need time to de-stress. And so whatever that is looks like for you. For me, it's massages. I go play golf. I sometimes sit at the piano and play music, something just to get my mind off what I'm thinking about. You have to have these things and fit that into your calendar. It could be as little as 15, 20 minutes a day. Just like put it in so that you have opportunities to take a break in your schedule. Because I think that's really important to have that balance. Again, we want to have some balance and synergy with this all. So that's going to be important first, that you're going to first create your schedule. Now, the second one is going to be harder than creating your schedule. What you're going to do is you are going to honor your schedule. You're going to honor it. Here's what I know about a lot of us. We are very giving people. And because of that, we give, and we don't have anything for ourselves left over. And with that, we will be giving of our time. And because of that, because you might be giving of your time, you're giving everyone else the best of you, and then you don't give yourself anything. So what you have to do is start earmarking time for yourself, that when you sit down to write, that is your dedicated writing time, and no one interrupts that. As I mentioned in a couple of previous episodes, I'm currently finishing up a book called The Finish System. And the Finish System is the process now that we have to help support faculty in order to chair their doctoral students. So we have a whole system around how to help you all as faculty. And so as I was implementing and trying to finish up writing Finish the last couple of weeks, I had to literally in my calendar put blocks of time that said finish the book. And that was my 2 to 3 hours that I dedicated to finishing the book. And no one interrupted that time. No one could schedule meetings, etc. That's something that you're going to have to do. And I actually sat and honored that schedule. At first I wasn't, because I had all these things going on at the start of the semester. But once I sat down and honored it, that book I was able to crank it out. And that's something that you have to start doing in your practice, is being able to honor your schedule, because everyone's pulling at you, and we'll give to everyone and everything, but not ourselves. And so I want you to be a little selfish here. And I talk about that in 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. You have to be a little selfish to get the things that you want to get out of your experience as a doctoral student. Now, for those of you who are still watching, make sure that if you do me a quick favor, hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you're watching on YouTube, because we found that 90% of folks who watch this channel are actually not subscribed. So in order to learn when new episodes come out, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Now, what I want you to think about next, and this is a hard one, I want you to set clear boundaries by remembering no is a complete sentence. And again, I want to say this to you all again, because I think it's really important to consider. Remember that no is a complete sentence. And this is something, shout out to Dr. Austin, that she often says. And I was like, I like that, because I agree. Sometimes you don't need to explain nothing. It's just no. And it's like, I can't do that right now. And nothing else is needed. Just no. I'm just not doing it. You have to learn to say no, because everyone's competing for your time, and you need to compete with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't compete with, let people take your time and you not be part of the competition. So like, you have to be mindful of saying no, and it hurts at times. And, you have to have a bar in place. This is something for me, even it's a challenge. I have to constantly remind myself of this, that no is sometimes the best answer I have at the time because of capacity. But you have to be mindful of this, because again, you can feed and give so much to everybody else. You don't have anything left, but no will be freeing. And one of our clients, at the time when they joined the program, they were doing something with their choir at church and had some other responsibilities with church. And then what they told the church was like, look, y'all, I'm trying to write this dissertation. So what we're going to have to do is pause this stuff with me for the church for right now. I can't participate in this way. I'm going to help support you all in the transition over the next couple of weeks. But after that, I got to take a step back, because I got to write this dissertation. and I can't do it anymore. Those are going to be some of the things that you're going to have to do as part of your process. For some of you all, you might have to recognize that, some people have children trying to figure out practices and those things. You might have to talk to your children about like, hey, today's practice, I need to work on this particular section. So I'm not gonna be able to watch like I normally would. That's a boundary you might have to put in place. You have to figure out what this looks like within the scope of your life. All of us have different priorities, and all of us have different, scenarios. So just, this is not to say what you need to do. It's just a suggestion of how you could approach it. Because again, we all have priorities. But I always will say is that if the dissertation is your priority and you're not making time for it, you truly have to ask yourself, is it really a priority? It might not be. It might be in your mind, but it's not in action. And it's no good being a priority in your head if the action doesn't follow it. And so I want you all to be mindful of this as you're thinking through your dissertation. And because of that, if you put boundaries around yourself and it allows you spaces to say, nope, I can't do that. I'm at capacity, and just leave it at that. And I promise you start doing this, it will be so freeing for you as you're thinking through and getting through the dissertation process. And so remember that you're going to set clear boundaries because no is indeed a complete sentence. Now, the last aspect of this around how to create this work-life dissertation balance is that you're going to seek support when your way has not worked. It makes no sense, right, for a lot of folks who are trying to do this thing, not experiencing the success, and then are okay being comfortable in that space versus going to get help. This is exactly why we created the Velocity Coaching Program, to have a space for those unique clients who have found that their way hasn't worked and they want an infrastructure to finish this thing quickly. That's why we created the program, because I was helping so many people. It's like, we got to create a system around this in order to help get people in and out of the process. And so sometimes it's just a matter of recognizing, like, I need help and I need help now. Don't let your pride get in the way, because your pride sometimes keep you ABD, to be quite honest. And so, because you might believe that I have to do it all by myself, I have to be this quote independent scholar, all these things. Like, no, you need an infrastructure and system in order for you to execute what you need to do as the scholar that you are. And that's what we do in our Velocity program. And that's why you need to get help of some support, especially if you're trying to do these things and it's not working how you intended it to. There's no need to sit frustrated. There's no need to go through this over and over and over and have these same headaches when you can get the help that you need to succeed. This is literally why we created the program. And we just hate to see folks, and we see this all the time. If you go back and watch some of our client series, you're going to hear from current or in past clients about their experiences working with us, and you'll learn from some of their stories. I'm just thinking about Dr. Lane, who talked about, at 1.2 years prior to joining and working with us, had reached out to get support and thought, oh, I can finish it, I'll figure it out. 2 years later, we're still somewhat in the same spot. They got help, and literally in 3 months turned the thing around and were able to defend a dissertation. It don't take long, but it takes you being willing to seek and get help and ask for help in order to finish this thing. Because again, there's going to be a resource drain of some sort. Some people have a time, some people have energy, some people have, income they have to, or finances they have to, something they have to spend down in order to get what they need. So if you're in a case that you need help and, you found that you try to use your time and you're trying to get the energy, but that hasn't worked. Maybe the resources you might have to part ways with in order to get the infrastructure around you so that you can take all the guesswork out, all the things, in order to focus your dissertation in the way that you need to in order to finish. And so if that's you and you find that you might need that type of level of support, I would invite you to consider looking into the Done Dissertation Velocity Coaching Program. You can learn more about the program by going to www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan the QR code here that is on your screen in order to schedule your complimentary consultation. Again, we want to see people out here winning. It's getting too close to the holiday season, coming up on Thanksgiving, Christmas, the semester break. All these things might be happening for you, and you're recognizing that, shoot, I'm in the same spot I was at the start of the semester. If that's you, I want you to reconsider what's happening as part of your process and get help. Reach out. If we can't help you, we will let you know. That's why we have a consultation process, because we want to make sure that we are the right fit for you and that you're the right fit for us. We don't want to help support you if we don't really believe that we can get you to the finish line. And we will always connect you with folks on our network if we find that we might not be the best fit for you at this time. And so with that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other platforms, make sure you follow us. And the greatest gift that you can do for us is sharing this video, wherever it is. Share it on your listservs, share it on your Moodle course, your Canva course, your stuff at school, wherever. Share it wherever more doctoral students can learn from this. Because again, we want to provide support to getting doctoral students through the process. And at the time of this recording, what's happening also is that we're approaching 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're hoping at the conclusion of this year that we have hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. We're almost there. We're at about a 450 or so right now at the time of this recording. So let's make sure you all can be extreme help for us in order to get to that goal. But with that said, thank you so much for watching this episode from AB to the PhD show. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, I wish you all a done dissertation. Take care.